Good morning, ladies. It is an absolute honor to welcome you to today's session, Tapping into Your Greatest Leadership Potential. Being here at this conference with over 1,800 amusing, amazing, beautiful Black women is such an honor, and I can just feel the energy in the room today, and just thank you for having Lilly here with you. At Lilly, DEI is part of our core values. We believe that by leveraging our unique backgrounds of our over 42,000 employees and driving measurable DEI strategies, including diversity in clinical trials, we can accelerate scientific breakthroughs in areas like obesity, diabetes, oncology, neuroscience, and immunology. Ultimately, this helps us fulfill our purpose of creating medicines that make life better for people around the world. We're incredibly proud to be a sponsor of the Black Enterprise Women of Power Conference, and I am very honored to welcome and acknowledge the over 30 beautiful Lilly sisters that are here with me today. This conference is a fantastic platform to celebrate the achievements, empowerment, and development of Black women. The title of today's session, Tapping into Your Greatest Leadership Potential, directly connects to the work we do at Lilly because diverse leadership is essential for fostering innovation, driving success in a global market. When women, people of color, and individuals from all backgrounds have a seat at the table, we can develop solutions that better reflect the needs of the communities we serve. We have a dynamic panel ready to share their experiences and insights on how they've maximized their leadership potential. So without further ado, thank you for joining us today. Get ready to learn, take notes, ask questions, and make sure you leave today feeling empowered to reach your full leadership potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Now I'd like to introduce the moderator for our conversation on tapping into your greatest leadership, Audra Bohannon, founder of Bohannon Advisory. Let's give it up for her. Come on, come on. So welcome to the stage, Audra.
Welcome. It is good to see you, and we hope we have something that you will walk out of here with that will serve you well. And I would like to bring our panelists forward, so please join me on the stage. I would like to introduce you to each one of them, and I'm going to introduce you to each one of them based on their name and title, but as you hear their conversation, you're going to get a chance to really understand who they are and what they have to share with you today. So to my immediate left, I would like to introduce you to Shar Douglas, and she is the Global Head of Marketing for TIDAL. So let's welcome Shar. Next to Shar is Byna Elliott, and she's the global head of JPMorgan Chase Advancing Black Pathways. So let's and next to Byna is Jennifer Jackson, who is the Senior Vice President of Merchandising at Walmart. Now, you all have chosen to sit in a space that really is going to look at tapping into your greatest leadership. When you think about leadership, you think about me leading others. But what we want to have a conversation with you about today is tapping into your greatest leadership, and that is from within. Last night, Melanie Hobson said there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And what you're going to have access to today is wisdom from 3 wise women. And it's going to be their sharing. So one of the things that we request of you to get the most out of this experience is to listen. And to take everything that you walked into this room with and put it to the side and just listen. Because if you will listen, the aperture is going to open up right in front of you, and you're going to be able to see things that you may not see right now. Is that something that you're willing to do? Yes. Can I hear it a little bit better than that? Yes. Something that you're willing to do. Thank you. Well, let's have a conversation, colleagues. And my first question is to all of you, and it is, you know, we've all heard the statement that leaders are not born, they're made. So given that, how did you tap into your greatest leadership? Let's start, Shar.
First off, thank you all for this experience. It's been so energizing. I've been meeting so many people, and it's been an incredible experience overall. But when I think about this question, for me, it's about curiosity and being courageous. We all are exposed to all different kinds of leadership throughout our journey. I'm still on my leadership journey. I continue to change and evolve, but I take the positives that I see and I discard the rest. And sometimes I might circle back because I've observed something that I wasn't really ready to learn at that moment, but I'm continuing to grow. But when I think about actually tapping into that leadership and leveraging it, I think about being courageous. And for me, the way I tap into that is my energy. It's important for me to get sleep. It's important for me to meditate in the morning. I can't show up as the leader that I want unless I feel good every day. So one of the things I just encourage you all to think about is, do you know what you need to do to be ready for the day? It could be working out. For me, it's meditation, but when I want to be courageous, I need to make sure that I've checked every single box and really thinking about, okay, this is my journey overall. I'm still learning, but I'm continuing to take in what I've learned from other leaders.
Thank you. Totally agree with that, Shar. I'm excited to be here. And one of the things I thought about that question is a lot of us are really good, and good to me almost means men when Tashonda talked about men. So we can be good, but what it means to be great in your leadership. And as Shar talked about, I'm learning and evolving, but it's important for me to understand what my talents are, and then how I make sure that those talents show up at work. And so I'm gonna share a story with you, is that I've always been told by my managers that I've been good, that I deliver outcomes, that I'm a good leader, that I'm compassionate, I'm empathetic. Those are really good qualities, and I'm excited about that. But there was a time in my career where I was tapped on the shoulder to do something that was outside of my comfort zone, and I turned the opportunity down. And that's for another day, but I had a sister tribe that came to me with an intervention and challenged me to say, why did you turn that opportunity down? And when I got done with all my excuses, it was fear. It was fear of stretching myself beyond what I knew I could do. And I went back and raised my hand for that role. And not only did I get that promotion, but I got 3 more in 5 years and achieved some outstanding performance metrics that I'd never even imagined for myself or my team. And so when I think about the greatness of leadership is doing something where you're uncomfortable and getting really comfortable being uncomfortable, and faith over fear, knowing that you have to have enough faith in yourself to believe that you can make something happen without all of the answers or the skills and knowledge. And so for me, it's those 2 things. It's like leading with courage, being uncomfortable, and having faith over my fear.
Okay. Jennifer.
Can't see you over there, but good morning, everyone. For me, it's probably 3 things. The first is what has been talked about many times already last night and this morning, which is always giving 150% to whatever I'm doing, what role. Then people can't question that. The second is what I can learn from everyone, and the third is, and most important, it's mainly about how you treat people and how you make them feel.
Yes.
That's the thing that people take away. People that I've worked for, and who've worked for me that we're in touch years after, haven't seen them in a long time. It's because of how they made me feel or how I made them feel. And so I think one of my strengths is I'm a lifetime learner, and that's the thing that I always want to learn from, and I think about that of how I can be a great leader. And so when I'm in a room, when I'm looking at leaders above me, sometimes when I'm looking at people who are on my team or who may be more junior, and I see them show up in a way and see them impact someone, I take a note. I'm like, that's what I want to do, how they positioned that, how they broke that hard news. I also take notes about what I don't want to do. There's a lot of lessons of leadership moments that is not how I want to show up. And I remember how I have felt poorly sometimes in how a message was delivered or how the full situation of myself or my team wasn't taken into account when a leader was talking to us or referring to us. And so I work to not do those things. And so that's what I think about in terms of being a great leader, of what I can learn from other people and how I can make people feel, and I learn from how I feel in those moments too.
I love that.
So when you think about courage, when you think about being able to step outside of your comfort zone, when you think about having those around you that you can emulate or lean into, it's coming from the wisdom of our panelists. Panelists, I would like to take it another step further. Colleagues, many times when we're having conversations with folks, you all have had the conversations, and some of you may have even thought about it. People talk about, I want to bring my whole self to work. I want to be able to, and I said to someone one day, I don't want to see your whole self. No. I want to see your best self. So one of the things that also, to just link into what was just shared around leadership, is that leaders tend to have non-negotiables. That if I cross this line, I have compromised. Or these are things that I am going to hold true, and no matter what, I will take the consequence of that decision. So colleagues, in fact, you want to start, Byna? I just want to talk about the whole notion of what were or are your non-negotiables and that have stood the test of time as it pertains to your leadership.
I would say those are things that I've learned when growing up. So I am Elnora Coleman's daughter, a woman who had to quit school in the 8th grade in rural Mississippi to pick cotton to help her family, who raised 9 kids by herself. And I understand who I am from that strength and grit and resilience of my grandmother. So whenever I look at a role, I want to say, will that make Elnora proud? Does that align with my values and mission and purpose that my grandmother seeded in me? And so that's one of my non-negotiables, that I have a clear value alignment that I look at any organization that I work for and how I lead. Do I lead the way I talk? And I tell my team, and they'll attest to it, if I do something that's incongruent with what I tell you I am, you get to correct me. Because sometimes I'm just a whole person, and sometimes I'm off my game, sometimes I've had a bad day. But I want to make sure that I show up authentically to make a difference in my team's life and the work that I do every day. So I have to be mission aligned and be able to check myself when I need to. The other thing that's really important for me, Shar touched on it, is courage. I know that sometimes we're the only ones in the room. So what are you going to do with that opportunity? It's you got to lead with courage. You got to say the things that everybody else is not willing to say. You got to know that everybody is not on your team. And you got to be okay with that and not worry about what people are whispering about you, but that you did the right thing at the right time consistently. And people will never question that. And the third thing I would say around my non-negotiables is making sure that I am bringing other people along. That when I get in places or spaces that I speak other people's names, I talk about how other people contribute to the opportunity, because this pie is big enough for me to share, so I'm not in competition with anybody.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, yeah. This next piece is around, you all said, I'm on my leadership journey. I'm still growing, I'm still learning. But you've also reached a very high level of success currently. So my question is, have you always had a strong belief that you would be this successful? Shar, why don't you start, and then I'll come over to Jennifer.
I think success is an interesting term because we were talking about it earlier. If we decided 20 years ago what the bar was going to be for us, we wouldn't have made it. And I would say for me, I always knew I would do something successful. I didn't insert whatever that is, but growing up, my dad always said, you have to be willing to bet on yourself. If you can't bet on yourself, then how are you going to expect some of these other folks to bet on you? And I think about one experience in particular that really pushed me, but I was working at YouTube, and we were dealing with a policy crisis in Europe. I'm in California, and I get called into the meeting, and I kind of just raise my hand. I guess I'll help. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been to London in a while. I don't know anything about their government or policy, but I raised my hand to be on this project. I started going to London back and forth, and we actually were successful in that campaign, and ultimately, the team that I was helping support said, actually, do you want to just live here? And I was like, I mean, maybe. It was Thanksgiving. I was moved there by January. That opportunity would have never come to me if I hadn't just trusted my gut and was like, I think I can do this. I don't exactly know what it is, but I know that I'm going to work hard. I know that my reputation speaks for itself, and I'm always consistent. And so fast forward, that international experience is what enabled me to get the job I have now. Because not only have I been able to say I've worked on global initiatives, but I can also say that I've had direct impact. I've moved, I've immersed myself in other cultures. And so I lived in London covering Europe, Middle East, and Africa for 2 years. That has transformed my whole worldview now, but it's also opened so many doors, and it all started with just, yeah, I'll do it. So I think a lot about where I know that I want to go, which is I knew I could do it. I don't know what it was going to be, but I think if all of you just keep thinking about, I got this, whatever opportunity it is, I think that's where you start to really unlock the opportunities long term.
Jennifer, before you respond, Shar, I want to come back to you for a moment. You said it twice. I knew I could do it. What was it that caused you to believe that you could so that the hand went up?
I'll say two things. One, we all work really hard in our jobs. We are all functional experts, and we have to trust that. We also have to own it. And the second thing I would say is I know I have a support system. So I've got a career coach that, I don't know if anyone here did MLT, Management Leadership for Tomorrow, yeah? But I actually still work with that career coach. And I knew that if anything happened, I could always go to her. I've got my friends, I've got a couple sponsors at the company, so I guess I always sort of knew I had people who had my back, both at the company and then beyond.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer.
Yeah, I'll face this side. I feel like they're being neglected. Because I feel a little here too.
I know, we keep going.
Did I always know that I would be successful? The answer is yes, I did. And I think similar to Shar, there's a quote your father told me. I remember my mom, as early as 3, would just always say, don't sell yourself short. I didn't actually fully know what she meant, but something about it stuck with me, and I think that translated to no, I literally could do anything I wanted to. She said that too, but I knew that. I will say, therefore, she always instilled we have to over-deliver and always make sure we're showing up. But I think the belief part probably didn't happen until I was years into my career, and although I only spent a short stint of it at Xerox, it happened to be when Ursula Burns was CEO. And at that time, I had known that that is what my aspirations were, to lead businesses and big parts of businesses. And I will say in that moment when I realized that I would work there and I had exposure, I went from really kind of knowing and believing and I actually know. I had the belief, but I knew, and something stuck and it triggered. And it was interesting because, having all of us here is great. And I think we always talk about the power of representation and seeing, and I did that, I mentored folks, but I never felt it myself until that moment where it's like, oh, something washed over me, and seeing someone in certain positions. And so that really changed and reframed kind of the knowing and the belief. Still had to do the work, still had to have the confidence. I had a lot of evidence of things where I worked hard, I figured it out. If it wasn't working, I solicited input, and that was I think the only thing I would leave you all, and why I knew I could be successful is pretty early on I knew that it didn't mean that I had to be successful by doing everything by myself. And therefore, when you can, tap in or phone a friend, that helps. Then of course I know, because even in the moments when I might fall down, I know there's people to pick me up. And that is a wide network of folks, and that is a great part of leadership, both of who I rely on and then what I do so that others can feel that they can rely on me.
So can I just say something? So
Absolutely.
I didn't know I would be successful. I didn't have that strong belief system. I grew up where I probably went to more funerals and baby showers than graduations. And I grew up poor. And I didn't have role models or anybody else, but Tashonda talked about having somebody that gives you information and advocates for you. I ended up being extremely very smart and tested well in my neighborhood schools. And so somebody would always take me out of class the first day of class and go, she is smarter than this classroom. She needs to be somewhere else. And that's how I realized that I actually was bright and capable and could do something. And I had a lot of curiosity around what could my future be like if I tapped into those skills and talents and my knowledge, not wisdom yet, but knowledge. Could I parlay that into not being a statistic in my community? Could I get through and graduate from high school and go to college and make something of myself and be the first? So I'm the first in my family, first generation college student in my family. And so I didn't have that. But what I did have was great examples of women in my family that worked hard, that showed up and got the work done and did it with excellence and did it with grit and resilience and made stuff happen with nothing. And so that's what I knew was in me. I didn't know what it would evolve into a title, but I knew I at least could keep a good job. And I probably wouldn't get fired because I'm a hard worker. I'm gonna get there early, I'm gonna stay late, and I'm gonna raise my hand to learn and stretch myself. But I didn't know what it could lead to other than just making sure I could survive and live.
Now, when you listened to their wisdom, if any of you are taking notes, here's one thing that showed up in each one of their comments, and it's around belief. So when you think about what you say every day around what touches your leadership or where you want to go and what you want to do, where is your belief system? Because your belief system is what will put you into a place that you don't give up. That's how you begin to talk about the greatest leadership. In that root system, where is my belief? And based on my belief, what comes out of my mouth, what I say? And then based on what I say, what will I do? So some of you in this room that know me well, I'm a strong proponent of what's the evidence. So whenever you say you want something, what is the evidence? So there, you're seeing their level of success, but what's underneath it is their belief. That's why I asked you, Shar, why did you put your hand up in the air to be able to say you were going to take that international assignment? Because there was something in her that said, I can do this. So what's inside of you that is saying, I can do this? And do I have my hand around it? Do I see it? Do I understand it? And are there appropriate thoughts and associated actions that are resulting from it, just like they've just shared, which has led to their level of success? Now, here's something that I think the group might be interested in, colleagues, and that is around headwinds. When you think about the fact that we're living in 2024, and we have some of the most significant headwinds that we could ever ask going on in the country, as it pertains to our mobility and how we move through the organization and the onslaught of so many things coming after us. That's one thing. But the second thing is that our fears, our insecurities, our weaknesses also represent a headwind about us really being able to find out how good we can be. So my question to you is, with everything going on in the world, how do you manage the headwinds? I know for me, on a good day, I say, what would Harriet do? That's on a good day. So for you all, I mean, how do you think about all this stuff and keeping you focused on the objective of continuing to drive the objectives in your organization?
Sure, so it's a tough time. I work in tech. I'm sure you all have seen the layoffs happening, and what I try to do is stay focused on the company goal, but also my own goals. Because sometimes what's happening around in the industry, it's actually just noise. You know how hard you work, you know how smart you are, you know what you contribute. And so a lot of what I try to do is actually come back to, well, what are the goals I set for this opportunity or this role? Is this role and is what I'm doing every day moving me forward on that path? And we talked about it earlier. Sometimes you're in a role where this is your training. I'm getting geared up for the next thing. It is tough, it is uncomfortable. I might not be sleeping that well, but I'm working through with my network to kind of build yourself up. But I really try to cut out the noise and try to stay focused on what I'm trying to do. And so I guess I will come back to meditation because that has been the thing that has really helped me clear my mind every day. But things work for folks or don't, but meditation is the tactical way, I guess, that I keep myself focused.
And to me, headwinds is almost equivalent to like a head fake or distractions. So for me, I always try to get myself centered. I work in DEI right now. So I've had a lot of headwinds over the last 6 months or 9 months. And for a moment, I got insulated and got into my cocoon and say, what is happening? Why are things that made sense last week don't make sense this week? Since when is DEI a bad word? Since when is black a cuss word? So really, focusing on that. And so if you focus on that, Byna, you can't get to the real solutions that you need to work on. You're focusing on the problems that you see in front of you. So I had to get quiet with myself over Christmas and remind myself of my why and my purpose. And be clear that when I walk into a room, you have to lead with that, Byna. You cannot go along to get along. You have to understand why you're in that space and place and what are you trying to deliver. And for me, it takes me to get quiet sometimes, to get in prayer, to get some peace, and surround myself with my sister tribe that can encourage me and remind me. And then you can come back out and be ready to fight. So Tashonda talked about sometimes you have to get quiet first and then gird yourself up and then be ready to fight or to push through. And that's what I do. That's the way I manage my headwinds and remember that my purpose is greater than the distractions and the noise. So which one you gonna focus on, Byna? The noise and the distractions or your purpose and your why?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Jennifer, I have I'm gonna turn it just a little bit, but I wanna ask something of the audience. How many times are people asking you to do something? You're the go-to person. Everybody wants you to do something. They're always asking, right? Let me see the hands. How many of you are always, y'all see all these hands going up in the air? Colleagues, this is my question, and Jennifer, I would like for you to lead with this. People are always asking us to do something. Why is it so hard for us to ask for something in return? Ooh. Oh my goodness.
You hit a nerve.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that again? Okay, I think we got something, Jennifer.
This is a hard one, and candidly, I'm still working on it. And I've thought about this, and I think like many in the room, the reason we're is because we do get asked, and that's the prize and the penalty for doing excellence at work, because they know you can do more. And I'll get to why we can't ask, but I will say that one of the first times it was a conference like this, and I got to hear Carla Harris speak, and she was like, if they ask you to do more, that's fine, then you should get more. You should get paid more. Everyone else is asking. Our white male colleagues, and as I got more senior and had friends with them, I would see them ask for things. Mm-hmm. And I remember after that was the first time where I am doing extra. I'm doing my job extremely well, and then I'm helping my boss out with things he didn't like to do. And so, and to be fair, he'd reward. I got several promotions on the person. He looked out. But at the same time, I'm doing more than everyone else. And so then the next day, I went and I had a conversation because there were facts about how much more I was doing. And I asked, therefore, for a raise in this particular moment. And let's say the speed and the amount just suggested how underpaid I probably was. Actually, I know I was, that I got from asking. By the way, I haven't always gotten a yes when I've asked, but you don't make any of the shots you don't take. And so it was always fact-based and there was a reason. But the broader question, Audra, that I sometimes struggle with is I have been very thoughtful about building my network, staying in touch with people, having a connection so that even if I don't meet them or haven't seen them in years, if they reach out, or if I reach out, I know that I would do something for them and they would do the same. And I do a lot for people when they're in work transitions, job transitions, maybe a reference and a referral, all the time. But I am reluctant to ask those things for that connection. You know so-and-so high up in this company. Could you make that intro? And I think it's probably a couple ones. One, if I don't, this is wrong, but I'm just saying some of what I struggle with is if I don't have something to immediately give something back, I feel like
Not reciprocal.
I don't deserve, if that makes sense, to ask for something. Now, no one has that problem when they're asking me for things. So part of how I've worked on this is just knowing that it's my own mindset and no one else's. And the fact that I know the people and I have that relationship, there is capital already in the bank. These are things that I'm actively today telling myself when I reach out for that connection, for that contact, for that. I have been and will be in other transitions where I'll need that. And so some of it just goes to the belief. I don't know why it's so much harder where I can believe I'm successful, but somehow I can't believe that someone will do something for me just because I asked. But they will. And that goes all back to what I said up front with how you treat people. I think about it. If there's a track record, then of course they'll do something for you. Not just because you might do something for them later or you did something before. It's because they're happy to. But there is a self-assurance part that I think sometimes we need to get over on ourselves. But I'm just sharing that it's hard, probably because of the positions that we typically have been in as a community and ourselves. But in short, we need to get over it. Yeah. Because every time I have asked, I have never been told no. And if I am, okay, that's not the person I thought it was. Check. My Rolodex is long enough that I can ask someone else. So and I'm thoughtful, and I'll continue to do things when people ask of me, because it does pay to pay it forward as well. And then that should just build up a virtuous cycle and more confidence to ask more.
So when you hear that, when you listen to what Jennifer just said, here are a couple of more words to write down. I've earned it, I deserve it, and I will represent that in any conversation about what I will take on in terms of, because see, some of you are saying yes to things you should be saying no to, and some of you saying no to what you should be saying yes to. Well, part of what helps you to understand that yes and no is to begin to get clear about what I've earned, what I've deserved, and therefore, when I have conversations with individuals, I am really clear about, yes, I will be more than willing to do this, but I also have an ask. And that ask is coming from my worth and my value, and understanding that I am not the grass and the world is the lawnmower. I'm not going to have y'all keep rolling over me. I have to be able to step in and be able to come to a place where I can also represent and be tall and strong when I walk out, based on being able to make that ask. Jennifer, thank you for that. We're getting ready to move to questions, but we got a couple of really dicey questions that I'm going to need to get in. So I'm only going to be able to have one colleague respond to each one. And I think you all will agree with me when you talk about it's dicey. How do you successfully navigate the corporate environment given the politics that are required? Some people say that you can't be authentic and political. So how does that tap into leadership?
Yeah, so the word political, I think, is really interesting. And for me, it's like corporate America is a game. I ran track in college, so for me, I treat it like a race. And if you ran track, you know that every event has kind of like a known strategy, but actually that strategy might not work for you. You need to always run your own race. Don't look at what they're doing over here. Stay the course for what you believe in. And so when I think about my own personal values on top of that, if the game changes or the landscape shifts, that's okay, because I know how I show up in the world. I know how I want to treat other people. I know how I expect to be treated in return. And so when I think about the idea of being political, it's more strategizing. It's talking with your girlfriends, even your guy friends, whoever it is that can provide you with the sage counsel. They've been there before. They might be in it at the same time as you, but thinking about how do you strategize and make sure that whatever you end up acting on is still very true to you. And I think the last thing I'll leave you with is people will remember how you acted in these tough situations. They will remember that you lifted people up. They will remember that you shoved people down. And so when we think about political, your reputation is really going to carry with you forever. And I want you to just remember as well, it's not about what anyone else is doing. Just run your own race.
Thank you.
I totally agree.
Okay, this is my last question, and I would like for each one of you to respond. If there is one thing to do that would give this community the greatest return on the investment of their time and their effort, what would that be? Just one thing. And we're going to just quickly go through it, and then we're going to move to Q&A.
Maintain your network.
Sorry, what was that?
I said maintain your network.
I would say operate in your gifts and talents. All right, Jen.
I'm just going to ditto the network one. It's the connections with people, as many and as most, and sharing a little bit of yourself so that they share about yourself. That's how we connect with people that aren't like us.
And I'm going to sneak in one, and that is to make sure you have a strong tribe. You all think about what you do with your networks, but I'm talking about the people that are close to you, because there's some people that lift you up, and there's some people you want to go lay down after you talk to them. I'm talking about the people that when you walk away, whether it's Zoom, whether it's text, whether it is on the phone, or whether it's in person, they lift you up. Do you have a strong tribe?
Can I cheat, Audra?
So just being able to add to that.
I was going to say the other thing that I was struggling to say or not say, it was about that asking for help. Take the S off your chest. You're not a superhero. And so if I had to leave one thing that I really want you to remember is that you are not in this alone. Take the S off your chest. Seek friends and family and resources that help you get in the race, stay in the race, finish the race, but know that you don't do it alone. So ask for help.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'm going to sneak in one more. Don't give up.
Oh, absolutely.
Do not give up. We're now going to open it up for Q&A.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carithia Oates from Morgan Stanley. Good morning, wonderful panel. My question was regarding having a strong tribe and support system or advisory board, people call it different things. How do you stay consistent with and manage that and make time for that and keep it, nurturing it and growing it? Because I know we're all stressed for time. We all have people that we thought had our back that didn't have our back. They're interchangeable parts. So how do you stay on course for yourself to keep your tribe going and support going and not like let up? Because they say two strands is hard to break, 3 is better. So how do you maintain that?
The one most important thing is that your tribe is a non-negotiable. I have a phenomenal national network, and it's because I invest in it. It is important to me. It is a non-negotiable. I can't breathe without it, and I think about it all the time. And I work it, and I mean, it's just part and parcel of how I move through the world. But I'm also very particular about being with like-minded individuals. I told you there's some people that bring you drag. I love them. Here's another thing. Love is conditional. Support is unconditional. People can love you and choose not to support you. So you get really clear about creating this community, not this one, this community, where you all are going on the journey together.
Thank you. No one else?
Well, what I would add, actually, you mentioned time. Your board of advisors or your network, you don't have to meet with every single one of them quarterly. So as you're thinking about your own time, just being strategic, I can maybe get away with talking to this person every 6 months or once a year. So you don't have to you can take some of the pressure off as you think about navigating your own schedule and your own time.
I'm with Audra. It's non-negotiable for me. I have to have that tribe. It gives me life. It affirms me. It girds me up. So I make time for that. It's called a priority. And so I make that a priority. And I also know that my tribe serve different purposes. So I also know that if you're the best person in your tribe, you need another tribe. Doesn't mean you drop the other tribe, but you have
Thank
to
you for
level
that.
up. You have to level up and surround yourself with people that you aspire to be like so that you can grow and learn as you evolve. But that does mean that you have to be you have to make it a priority. You have to be intentional. And I think during COVID, I really got clear on that. Right? You're at home, you're by yourself. How do you connect? How do you stay connected with your tribe when you can't see each other, you can't touch each other? So you have to be very intentional. And so what I figured out is that I had a fear of missing out. So I was everywhere doing everything. So I was real busy. Busy doing what? Was it meaningful? Was it purposeful? So I decided to redefine what was busy for me and what was my priority. And so I make it a point to have and reach out to 5 people every week to check on them, to see about them. I make it a point to spend time with my tribe once a month. I make it a priority because relationships are all you have.
Okay.
Thank you.
We want to see if we can get as many in, so we're going to come over here and then I'll come right back.
Good morning. My question is for Ms. Elliott. So I have very similar background. Didn't grow up with money, didn't grow up with a lot of resources or support. I'm building my own company, so I'm working on my 4th location, childcare. And I have a business partner, and one of the things she said to me, and she doesn't live in the town we're building this in, and I got a little offended by, which I've never been offended by anything she's ever said in 6 years that we've been together, is you're too far in the weeds. So as we're trying to open up another location, as well as run a non-for-profit for these businesses, how do I get out of the weeds of the hard work that I can change a diaper and I can wipe a nose and I can also open another business in fellowship with like-minded leaders, but how do I balance not getting so far down in the weeds that it affects my leadership and where I'm supposed to be?
Right. So one of the things is you're also blocking the growth of your team members when you do that. So when you think about it that way, because you're a giver, right? So you want to help everybody else. So know that when you do that, you help everybody else level up. So one of the things is you have to step back and say, who else can do that? And support them, be clear on the outcomes, be clear on what you think success looks like, and then say, I'm here to support you, but I trust you can get that done. And give yourself that grace to leave it to somebody else because it'll stretch them and grow them. It'll allow you more time to do the things that help your business grow. And you will see amazing results not only in your company, but also in the growth of that talent and team members that you have. So remember that you're not just blocking yourself, you're also blocking the growth and opportunity for those that are supporting you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Let's go to the next question. We're going to try to get as many in. We got 7 minutes left.
Got it. Hi, ladies. Jessica Johnson. My question is, when you're going into a new role, what tools do you guys have to manage a new team while not having the confidence of knowing exactly that unit? It's a new team, new role. What tools do you guys have to maintain that confidence that you can lead that team?
Got it. I can start here. So I think the important thing is, with most things, is kind of respect for what came before, but know that you were put in there for a purpose, and therefore the expectation is some change. I say that because a lot of people are afraid of stepping on toes, but that respect part of what was done before, when that's missing, that's sometimes fall down. So over-investing in the team in the first part before you may deal with the periphery to just make sure you're understanding the base business, but you're also understanding each of the key team members, what they're looking for, what they have. I've found when you do that and invest in that, they will invest in ramping you up on all the things you need to do. And if you're thoughtful about making sure that you're acknowledging the good things before, but also still pushing or questioning, always in a respectful way, what else the change could be. But that overinvestment, which is literally just time and meetings, asking about their work, their journey, and them, they will then help you learn whatever you need to do on the nuts and bolts of the business, and then you can move forward from there.
Okay.
I'll just say, there's a book called The First 90 Days. I always use it. And I give it to people who are going into new leadership roles as a gift, because sometimes you just have to get quiet, listen, learn before you start making changes.
Yep. I second that book. I do the same thing. And the one thing that I would add on top of that, in the book they talk about quick wins for yourself, but actually think about quick wins for you and the team.
Oh, that's good for both. Okay.
Thank you.
Quickly, Dr. Frances Richards, and one of the questions I have about growing and scaling your own business in terms of creative ways, in terms of raising capital, any advice you would have? Thank you.
So there is a ton of resources. So we can take that one offline about resources, but there's a ton of resources that are available to help you grow, scale, and invest in advisory services for your business to have the right toolkit so you can be successful.
Thank you.
Hi, ladies. My name is Carol Burns, and I recently founded a travel and events company called the Lane Experience, where I'm focusing on live events, business retreats, and travel to South Africa is trending, everyone.
All right.
But in this journey of entrepreneurship, I'm finding myself questioning myself more than ever. And one of the messages that I received today is the power of trusting yourself and the power of having faith in yourself. So what are some of the things that you've done to build that trust in yourself, especially in moments where you're questioning it?
So I'm not an entrepreneur, but I feel that each time I'm going into a new role, you do have a little bit of fear. And sometimes that's okay. That means you're stretching yourself. When you're thinking about the areas where you're doubting, there are people in your network who can help you think through the answer to that question or taking the next step. And I think I have found, at least with my network, that they're so knowledgeable that it helps me remind myself, actually, oh, they had the same idea that I had, and you build that confidence kind of step by step. But also kind of to what Byna was saying earlier, you don't have to solve every single problem yourself, and just look around you and think about who can help me answer this question, and then also I think you'll see that your answers probably mirrored theirs, and you'll get that confidence.
And then give yourself some affirmations. Like when I'm struggling with something, I put positive messages on my mirror. Sometimes I can't see myself because I had to put so many affirmations up of you can do this, you got this, Byna, God's got you. Tell yourself those positive things every day, because sometimes we get in our own way, so don't do that. Make sure that you have the right thoughts, the right affirmations, the right confirmations with your tribe and yourself.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Santa Gaspard. I'm the CEO of a medtech startup called Redefining, developing a solution for chronic wound assessment and management. I have two quick questions. So I'm in a very male and white dominated field in terms of engineering and healthcare. And first question is, how do you go about building your tribe of, let's say, of Black women when you don't come across them in your line of work? That's my first question. And my second question is, from a startup perspective and fundraising, a lot of the hurdles that Black women have or Black people have is that early stage funding from friends and family. When I listen to the women in this room, I realize there's a lot of opportunity here to bridge that gap. But a lot of tech startups like myself or even other startups don't know how to get that. And that's a great wealth building opportunity for Black women. But startups like myself don't know how to access, like the women in this room, to even say, here's a great opportunity. Here's how you can get in early to start building wealth in a diversified way. And diversified meaning, in addition to stocks and bonds, here's a great startup that could be a future Google. And if you get in early, you can 10x. So that second question is, how do you access people like this in this room when you don't also run into them across like your everyday work?
So Audra can probably share, but so I'll answer the last question first. Is one, be very intentional about this room, right? You have a whole directory of who's in the building and what do they do and what roles do they have in companies. So be very intentional about how you network and who you network with. Ping people in the app if you have that ability, or find somebody who knows somebody. Look at this, there's only like 3 degrees difference between us. Somebody knows somebody and somebody can connect you with somebody. And then there's Butch talked about it earlier, like the Fearless Fund and other things like TechStar and other programs that are about bringing community together around venture capital resources and helping each other support and identify the funders that can help you build your business and invest in your business. There's also Kiva, which is another tool that you can use around crowdfunding, but there's a bunch of myriad of ways that you can tap into resources. And there are a bunch of pitch competitions that you can pitch your program, and you will find people that you didn't expect to invest in you that could invest in you. So there's a myriad of tools around that. And then around are you being intentional about your tribe? Again, this conference. Find people that are like-minded in this conference, maybe in the same sector or field that you are in, and be intentional around connecting with them. And if it's authentic, it will last, and you will start to build your tribe. And then think about people that are connected to the work that you want to do, people that you admire, and find out who can connect you with them. When I talked about building a new tribe, there was a significant lady at another company who I said, she has attributes I want to learn from. And I found somebody who knew her. I said, I don't necessarily want her to mentor me, because that requires a relationship, but I can be intentional about at least having coffee with her, gleaming some ideas from her, getting some learning and some tools from her. And by doing so, we became really good friends. But I was very intentional around, my circle is really good, but I got to level up my circle. I need a new circle. And so who am I going to surround myself with that circle? And it's not mercenary if you do it with an authentic intent to support each other, to give back and connect, and make sure that it's an authentic relationship where you have similar missions and values. It works.
And colleagues, I just want to say, I told you you would get a lot of advice and counsel from three wise women. Jennifer,
Last word.
please, thank you. Byna, thank you. Shar, thank you so much.